Please go to the diary room.
Every single season and learn everything that there is to know about everybody.
Please make your way to the diary room.
Celebrity, Brandy.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Diary Room. We are trying to find the best Big Brother player of all time. It's going to take a minute, but we're on our way there. Of course, every episode, we're going to pull 6 players, try to get 3 more to the next round, leave 3 behind. That's the project at hand here. I am Matt. I'm here with Aman. Aman, how's it going?
That theme song is such a bop. Like, it energizes me, and every time I hear it, it's like I hear it for the first time. Yep. But I am excited to be back, and just happy to have power as a behind the scenes type deal thing going on. But yeah, I'm here. I'm surviving.
Was dealing with a bit of a power issue when we were supposed to record yesterday, and we're all good. We made it through. And shout out to Glances for the incredible intro and outro music that you hear on every podcast. Let's bring in our guest, someone who was so gracious with their time to reschedule after the power issue. It is Mary. Mary, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. I was excited last night. I'm still excited tonight. So rescheduling ain't got nothing on us. We're good. We got this.
Yeah. So we have a great schedule ahead of us today, where again we're going to pull 6 new players, not new players, 6 past players, and get back into it. We've had some very interesting polls lately, and I'm excited to get to it. But of course, before we do that, Mary, we try to remember to ask everybody when we can, and gotta ask you here. Although I do think I know your answer. To when you found Big Brother and how long you've been watching, all that fun stuff.
Oh, don't mind me.
Power, but he doesn't have he doesn't have control over his camera today.
Oh, okay. I thought he was telling me to stop very aggressively. I was like, okay.
He was actually reaching through his screen to grab us.
My Big Brother history, I wrote it down. I wrote a timeline down on my phone because I was like all great Big Brother stories, it involves being a filthy casual and a bunch of lies. So yeah, you may know that I discovered Big Brother. I had heard about it in the way that you do of oh, you're watching other CBS reality shows and then there's a third one, but to me it was oh, there's that other one that nobody watches, because everyone of course watches Survivor and Amazing Race, but Big Brother, who knows what that is. I remember a couple times that I'd be watching Survivor finales and it would be Survivor premieres, and there would be a finale of Big Brother happening at the same time. Yeah, but I did not actually really know anything at all about Big Brother until June 15th, 2017, when Rob Has a Podcast made a podcast called Why Survivor Fans Should Give Big Brother 19 a Try. And I was like, all right, I'm sold. I'll watch Big Brother 19, which, as everyone knows, is the best Big Brother season to start with.
See, I don't know why I actually thought I was wrong that I thought I knew your answer, because I thought we were jumping in at the exact same time. I don't know why I thought you were 16.
Not quite. Too. It was close, but not quite. But I watched Big Brother 19, and then what was weird is I also at the same time, back if people remember the online reality version of Sequester, before they did other versions. I heard about that. I was on the final season of that. I had no clue what was happening, to where people were having to tell me some of these contestants are from Big Brother, and I'm like, okay, great. I've seen Big Brother 19. So I did not know who anyone it was. And then I listened to the But First, a Big Brother 2 blockumentary. And at that point I had listened to that and I was like, great, I'm just going to go back and watch all the old seasons of Big Brother, starting with Big Brother 2. And I think I made it up to about Big Brother 11 or 13 within 6 months. I was just kind of marathoning all of them on YouTube at the time, because I think this was before they put them on Paramount Plus. And I don't even know if Paramount Plus existed at that point. And then I reached out to Taryn.
CBS All Access.
Like you do. Yes, CBS All Access, yes. And then at this point, I reach out to Taryn in the spring of 2018. I had not listened to any live feed updates at this point because I had just been like casually watching the show. I reach out to him and I was like really into the Big Brother documentary though. And I was like, hey, I'm a literal nobody. You have no clue who I am. But like, if you ever need someone to like do research for old seasons of Big Brother, I'd be happy to because I'm watching them for the first time and I'm doing research. And then heard nothing. And then a few months later, he reached out and he's like, "Hey, are you watching Big Brother Canada?" And I was like, "Yes, I totally know what that is. Definitely."
Oh my God.
Definitely watching that. And then for Big Brother 20, he reached out and he said, "Are you watching the live feeds?" And at that point was when my mind went, yeah, like I had heard that there was live feeds, but
so
I have not watched them. But I lied and I said yes. And then I was like quickly Googling how to watch the live feeds. And I kind of never looked back. And I just became a Big Brother live feed updater. So,
yeah, I mean, so we have that story in common. Well, not that exact story. That's a crazy story.
Wild.
We have the like our entry into RHAP in common of just like we just showed up someday kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like we weren't, so you think we're like in our own class of like you can't identify where we showed up because we just did show up.
We just showed up.
And so we have that in common, but the rest of the story again is wild. What a journey you had there of like, there's live feeds.
Just a bunch of lying and stuff. It's like kind of wild. I don't really know how it all happened. It really just all hit at the right time. Since then, I will say I have gone back and watched. So I've seen Big Brother Canada 6 through 12 through the end. And then of Big Brother US, the only season I haven't seen is Big Brother 18, just because I got up to Big Brother 17, my rewatch, and then got too busy with all the other like live shows that were happening. One day I'll watch Big Brother 18, but that's the only one that I haven't seen. Pretty much know what happens, but that's about it.
Two questions for Aman. One, you're doing okay? The camera's all good over there now.
The camera seems to have settled.
If you heard me laughing during Mary's talking before, I wasn't laughing at her. Aman was really struggling with the camera. If you're only listening to the audio version here. And two, can you believe there's a season of Davon that Mary hasn't seen yet?
I was just about to say, I was like, wow, like so you're missing so much of the Queen's journey, but that's okay. This episode is brought to you by Lying on Your Resume, brought to you by Mary Kwiatkowski.
For real. And I like consistently lied for it because there were so many times when I was doing Big Brother live feed updates for season 20, which was my first season, doing those that like Taryn and other people would make comments about things in Big Brother 18 because it was relatively recent. And I was like, yes, I totally know. And I was Googling like, who is this person? What is happening while it was happening? So if you ever thought I was an expert on literally anything, the answer is no. And also for the people who've ever been like, come on, like you must be lying. You must know this stuff. No, I absolutely don't. I do not remember.
I could name 4 things you're an expert at off the top of my head, 5 or 6. Riverdale, running, Boston Rob, holding a tennis ball over your head.
Okay.
4. That's
right.
where
but
I stopped.
Big Brother noticed not on that list. So I'm going to do my best today.
All right. Well, Mary just did give you a pretty good preview of what the wheel is looking like today. So that is what we're going to get into shortly. But first, Aman, we don't use that very often. Aman, this is the end of a next batch of 5, which means for all of the patrons, it will be time to vote somebody back in. It'll be time for another losers bracket, all that fun stuff. So I actually want to reset and turn to Mary as well here. Let me remind you and remind everybody here, the people that have been recently eliminated, these 12 names that I'm going to read to you, along with the 3 eliminated today, one will come back and one of them will be crowned the worst of the bunch. Just see who of these 12 names come to mind for any either of those categories. So these go back to Mari's episode. So we have BB Can 7, Mark, Big Brother 21, Jess Milagros, Aman. Big Brother 21, Jack Matthews. We have Enzo Palumbo. We have Pooch from BB24, Luke Valentine, BB25, BBOTT's Monty, BB12's Andrew Ian Gordon, BB8, Mike Dutz. Mary has not possibly seen this episode yet, hasn't come out yet for her. BB Can 7's Corey Kennedy, a recent loser, BB25, Jared Fields, and BB25, Riley Smedley. So yet again, reminder, one of those or 3 people today that will lose will come back, and one will be the worst. I don't know if any of those names stood out to either of you as likely in either side of things here, but
a couple stand out as likely. I think I know which one's probably gonna come back, which makes me feel a little sad and a little guilty, but I mean, I got to stay true to myself when making these decisions. What else can you do? It's no disrespect, okay? It's no disrespect, okay? I gotta be me. Like, it is what it is,
Any standouts there, Mary?
I mean, I've got some negative standouts.
Negative standouts. Well, that's good. I mean, again, we're going to crown the worst of that bunch.
I mean, unfortunately, the only one that really stuck when you read out the only two were Jack and Riley were the only two that I vividly remember, neither of which for great reasons. So,
well, they'll have some tough competition also with Luke Valentine.
Yes,
up for the worst competition there. So we'll see. Of course, all the action for that will be taking place over on Patreon, patreon.com/the diary room. If you want to get involved in that. And I meant to say this earlier, Aman, would you be surprised to know that of all of the patron votes that have been cast, we've only gotten to one so far. And I was telling you before we got on here, have them all, right here. None of them, I'll tell you for free, have been cast for Davon. Nobody is worried about Davon not getting the votes.
I mean, as you shouldn't be.
I think everybody has been very smart with their picks so far, knowing us.
That makes me very proud. I'm a very proud podcasting parent right now.
Yes. Mary, would you like to get to our first wheel spin and find out who your first player is going to be?
I would. I can't wait.
Okay. Well, I think we can accomplish that here as we bring the wheel up. It has been doing its thing lately, being a menace. But maybe you'll get 6 really strong picks. Maybe we'll fight about something today.
I would like a matchup of a really strong and a really weak pick. That'd be great.
Oh, you want easy? You want layups?
I don't know that I don't want all layups. I would like at least one layup.
Okay. Let's see. Let's get this wheel spun and find out who's up first today.
The wheel is about to give us 2 Titans now because Mary said that. I can just feel it. This wheel is
it's so hard to look at. So many
There's a
slices.
lot of names on here. First up for today is Shanna Moakler.
Okay.
Interesting. All right, celebrity.
BB Celeb 3. Okay.
It's funny because the odds of celebrity coming up when there's still so many BBUS and so many BB Can names feels not high, but nevertheless, Shanna Moakler.
Wow.
All right.
Okay, this is an interesting one.
Shanna, alongside her number 1 ally, Chris Kirkpatrick, the two were set to play the middle while the other 2 sides continued to take shots at each other. After losing Chris due to a bold veto play from Shanna, Todrick threw her under the bus to Carson and Cynthia, embellishing that she had no loyalties and was playing everyone. Despite Shanna using the veto to save Carson the week prior, they were convinced she wasn't on their side. Shanna was then put on the block and evicted in a unanimous 4-0 vote. Like
not only robbed from the game, but robbed from the America's Favorite Player vote.
For real.
Like Twitter streets were out here activated for Shanna Moakler, but hard to overcome, the Carson Kressley love in the world, which, usually I would say is a good thing, but not in BB Celeb 3's context, I'll say. Mary, how'd you feel about Shanna?
In the real time, I remember it was kind of a slightly slow start to liking Shanna, but then right before she left, it was she really took off when it was it was one of those underdog sort of situations where it's oh, is anyone going to be able to stop the eventual winner? Maybe Shanna knows what's going on. Oh, and she's gone. And so I remember feeling that way about it. I remember feeling okay, we've got, the Misha and Todrick of it all on that season. And there was just not a whole lot of opposition. And Shanna, I believe she did win a few challenges. She wins.
Yeah, she's got 2 vetoes.
Yeah. And so it was also just seeming like a potential.
I forgot to put her card up. We are off our game today. I'm usually that information is up on the screen and people are yelling at us right now. Where is her card? I'm sorry. Thank you, Mary. Sorry, but yes, she's won 2 vetoes.
Yeah. And so I felt like that was something that was possible for her, at least considering how dominant especially Misha was towards the end there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it was fun watching Shayna because she did seem to um sort of learn the game pretty quickly and also have an inkling as to like what the power structures were, when to attack, where to attack. But unfortunately, you know, she got. And I to this day I'm still struggling with, is it because Misha, mainly Todrick, are very convincing, or is it because Cynthia and Carson are dumb? Like, and I a piece of me doesn't want to believe that Carson is dumb because I find Carson to be a highly intelligent individual, but for whatever reason, he decided to listen to Todrick, and it just burns my ass to this day. It should not have gone the way that it did, but to credit to Shayna's credit, she did fight until the end. She kept telling them like, "Look, this is why this doesn't make sense. Listen to me, please. I just saved you. Why are you listening to them? I don't understand." And it all fell on deaf ears. So yeah, it was not fun watching her go out, but it was fun watching her play.
So frustrating. So yeah, go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, I was going to say probably a good thing to know before we get the person she's going up against. Do you tend to want everything to be better player, or could any of it be just who you like better? Because I imagine sometimes that causes issues.
It's Amon's favorite question.
Okay, so look, it's the criteria is not resolute. Okay, like sometimes it is about legacy, sometimes it's about strategy, sometimes it's about both at the same time. It really is whatever you are resonating the most with, like that has value here, and that is why we have multiple guests on every week, because everyone is going to have a different answer to these questions. So that to me creates the most holistic response as to who is the best Big Brother player. And so long story short, vote how you want, Mary. Don't feel restrained.
Vote your gut. This season, we've talked about it once or twice that it's already come up. For a variety of reasons, is incredibly frustrating, and I remain so excited for Carson and Cynthia to come up so that I can vote against them with my whole chest. In the same way that I very recently got.
Don't
to
say that now, because Carson might be paired up with somebody crazy. So
that's fine. Go on through whoever it is. So patron votes, get those votes in if you want to see Carson or Cynthia have a chance. I'll tell you that. It was incredibly frustrating, everything that happened there. Look, Shayna and Chris Kirkpatrick did a dumb thing. They did a very dumb thing in using the veto and saving Carson, knowing that Chris Kirkpatrick was going to be the replacement nominee. And Chris Kirkpatrick was like, yeah, whatever. It's fine. If I go up and I go home, whatever. At least I came here to play and I played. Chris Kirkpatrick goes up, he goes home, goodbye. And of course, again, the frustration comes in the very next week when Carson and Cynthia are convinced that Shayna did not have their back, despite, yes, her using the veto on him the week prior. It is just mind-blowing that was the thing that happened, that Misha and Todrick were able to convince them of that. Todrick specifically, I guess. And so, you have to give all the credit to those two for pulling that one over. Shayna just got outplayed by two very intense players working on two very not worthwhile Big Brother players. It happens. And again, it's not completely not on her and Chris, because they didn't need to there was no reason to shake things up in the week prior. I guess they didn't realize, because they were relatively working with Todrick and Misha before that, right? At least Chris was. Shayna, I feel like, was a little bit more out of it. She wasn't a part of the athletes group, I don't think, right? But she was close enough.
No,
with
but
them.
she made a deal with them at one point,
right? So
yeah.
She had even less reason though to feel comfortable with Todrick and Misha going forward. I don't know. There's you can really get into the weeds as far as that decision, but I don't know. When it came down to it, we all had a lot of fun watching Shayna. She became the underdog very quickly that we rooted for very intensely. Without Todrick and Misha there, I feel like she certainly goes a little bit deeper, but given the fact that she was willing to let Chris Kirkpatrick go by using that veto, tells me that maybe she's not the strongest player, to say the least. So that's tough. 7th place in a season of 11 was a tough way for us to say goodbye to Shayna. But yeah. Sorry, I forgot her card to show for the screen on the screen here for those watching on YouTube.
But you won't forget this next one.
No. So there's Shayna. Unless anybody else has any final Shayna thoughts, we can find her an opponent here.
Oh, that just reminded me that Toddrick Paul is eventually going to come up on this wheel. Oh my god.
I know. Not looking forward to that one.
Watch his be a extreme ass layup, and we have
watch him be right here. No. Up next, Shanna Moakler versus Red.
Oh man, and I've still never used my red costume.
Wait, you did? Oh wait, no. Who were you when I was on the slop?
I was Cameron.
You were Cameron.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I got a red costume, but then he got voted out before I got to use it, so it's fine.
So I will say, so one thing, that anybody that's been watching these episodes straight through has noticed we haven't been getting much BB Can lately. I'm still waiting for, more BB Can to pop up, but that's besides the point. We are getting so much
BB Can to be against one another. It's
I guess sad. So. But we've been getting like so much 24, 25, kind of 26. Like I feel like it's so weighted towards like recent seasons. I don't know what's going on.
Kuya took all the BB Can several episodes
He did.
ago.
he took the lion's share of BB Can for recent episodes. Well, let's talk about Red, who Mary knows very well.
I mean, what is there even to say? Like Red, the reason that Red was cast was his name and his beard.
And his TikTok.
And as it turned out, that was all that he brought to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Red, a relatively quiet player. Red would align with Cameron to form the Chillers. I forgot that was the name of that alliance. Week 4 would see Cameron win HOH and Red win the POV, but would end in a reset due to Matt's BB power of invincibility, saving Jag from eviction. When nominated the following week alongside Jag, Red would seem safe until a flip initiated by the Fields Alliance result in Red being evicted by a vote of 8-2.
Okay. Mary, again, you've channeled Red before.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason I also went with Cameron. Cameron was given a lot more in that season, for the cosplay of it all. Yeah, Red is the classic person on the season who, kind of finds a couple allies, doesn't really bother to do a whole lot play in the game, sees if they win any challenges, and if they do, great. If they don't, they go home. I mean, and there's so little to say when it comes to Red, in my opinion. Like, there's a world where Red is basically the same as Kenny was this season. I mean, they're not exactly the same archetype, but like the most he had going for him was that he was tight with Cameron, and the Cameron won an HOH earlier, and that was about it.
Yeah, the Cameron Red duo was when I knew Big Brother 25 was going down south early on, despite the fact that Suri Fields was there, despite the fact that we were growing a strong affinity for, Felicia. The other people had picks in the house that maybe they were keeping an eye on. Obviously, Corey and America were there as well, and were amassing a very big following on the outside. But seeing the Cameron and Red duo form on the feeds, on the episodes, and like, okay, Big Brother seems somewhat invested in this. Cameron has his HOH week where he really makes a lot of enemies in the house. And that's when, like, in theory, well, not in theory, that's when I guess his game starts to go downhill. And because he's so close to Red, Jared nominates them that next week. Cameron saves himself, Red goes home. But like, they start off in that majority-ish alliance with Suri and everybody else, with Jared, with whoever was in that group, Heisem, until they cut Heisem. And, that alliance was so determined, along with Izzy and everybody else in there, to, be all over the place, cut their own if it was needed. It was confusing. So as far as like Red himself is concerned, like, yeah, I think like Mary is saying, like, you can't point to a whole lot specifically that Red had to do with. ends up just being like a casualty of like, well, if we can't get Cameron this week, we can cut the next guy closest to him, despite the fact that these two like did break up as friends.
I was gonna say,
at one
didn't they get
point.
into a fight? Yeah, and it was like
there
kind
was a
of the
breakup
fight came from
between
nowhere.
the two of them, but it was still like, again, the next closest thing that you can get. If these two guys get back on the same page, you don't want Cameron having the extra person in the house when you already want Cameron out of the house. So Red was the lock to go home there. And then there was like the revenge arc, right? That Cameron wanted revenge for everybody who got Red out.
Mm-hmm. His country brother. Yeah, I mean, I think Red's game mostly was comprised of being a little bit in Cameron's shadow. Cameron's success was Red's success, to the point where they were so much of an outcast in the main structure of the house that Sari and company decided to create an alliance simply to placate Red and Cameron. And they have no real idea what's going on, which is why it comes as such a shock to Cameron that Red is the one that actually ends up getting flipped on to weaken Cam. So, I mean, I think, I don't think I wasn't as annoyed with Red as it seemed like most of the fandom was at the time. I mean, he did have a few choice words about like the whole America Corey situation. But whatever.
I think the main thing that annoyed me about Red was more just like that with like I said, with the archetype of you're very clearly cast because of how you look. Like I'm more annoyed with production for feeling like the way someone looks is enough of like a draw that they're somehow going to act as that character the whole time, and that's fine if they're also going to have some gameplay, like be willing to play. And I mean, this is going to be a pretty easy choice for me in this matchup. and what I'll say is, if you put Red in 50 different seasons, Red plays the same way. I think Red, it's all about, does someone decide that Red is going to be in their alliance and pick him up? And I think you put Shanna in a bunch more seasons, and Shayna's going to play probably more often than not.
Yeah.
I definitely hear you about the character type, I guess, for Red, and them like not knowing if, like, I guess what I'm thinking is them, not knowing if this person's going to pick up on the game as they go, even if they found this person on TikTok, and maybe they surprise you, but they also, of course, are always going to be filling casting spots for the casual at home that just wants somebody likable to cling on to, especially when they represent I don't know, a part of the nation that may not always be tuned into Big Brother and has a reason to when Red's here.
That's what's the difference between a Red and a Donnie, or I'll even say a Red and a Cameron, because Cameron, I think, at least in terms of like his demographic, was more similar to Red, but Cameron played the game hard. Didn't mean he played well, but he played hard. And then you have Donnie, who is like the America's sweetheart, nice kind of guy. And then Red just kind of like, he didn't give enough of that anyway. Like you were saying, his words about America and Corey, and there was a lot of, and that's just mostly him not knowing probably what it is that live feeds are picking up on, but
yeah,
or just didn't care.
So Mary, you make it seem like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, like, Red is just the weaker of the duo of Cam and Red, and it just that's just how the cookie crumbled for him. And I just feel like there wasn't enough of a social game there outside of like the performative. I am from the South and I have a big long red beard and this is how I sell my shit on TikTok. So it's gonna work in the Big Brother house. No, it didn't. So
yeah, I mean, and this is gonna sound like a compliment, but I'll just say he's no Jasmine.
No, he's not. Blind side butter beans.
Mary, I think you have somewhat made it clear where your vote may be going for this one.
Yeah. I'm going Shayna on this one.
Locking in Shayna? Okay.
I am.
Let me just say, like, it's not super like clear cut for me. Like, I might know which way I'm leaning, but I mean, when you look at any player that we've looked at plenty before, we'll look at plenty going ahead of like people who have made mistakes. And again, I can't help but think of, Shayna and Chris having this plan to take Carson off the block, knowing that Chris was going to probably go up. And that is a stupid move. You and your number one ally in the house are safe for the week, and you want to risk him being in danger when you have a game filled with like 9 people total. That's an important number. So like that's a pretty crucial mistake. And again, she gets outplayed the next week. That's kind of out of her hands, not realizing how powerful those other two people are. And so, when you're up against somebody who just didn't do anything at all, besides like show up and make a good friend. So that's where I do find it tough. Aman, do you know where you're at?
I think I know where I'm at, only because like I think that one of these players was just like very much out of the loop for a lot of their game, whereas the other player took a little bit of time to understand how the game works. But once they knew what was going on, it was very clear cut, like what they needed to do. And it just so happens that the influence of, I don't even necessarily, again, I still struggle with this conversation as to, is it Todrick and Misha being very, very socially adept, or is it the other two being stupid? And I go back and forth with that. But I largely agree with what you just said, in that it really, at that point, it's nothing that Shayna did. It's what they did. And like, on one hand, it's like, yeah, do you like knock points off of Shayna's game for that? Maybe a little bit, but not enough for me to not have her go over it.
And I feel like if they were to play again, even instantly after, I think that Shayna would have learned from that scenario of what happened. And I'm not sure what Red learned.
Yeah. So it sounds like Aman's going for Shayna. I'm also going to go for
even
Shayna.
when Red left, like his biggest gripe was with Suri. Like he was like, "Oh, the only reason I'm out of here is because Suri has a son in there." I'm like, that's part of the reason, but it's not the whole reason. Like,
I think you could definitely, I don't know. We can talk through a world the next time Shayna comes up about, I think the consensus is that it was a bad move, as I've been kind of like going down this road of putting Chris Kirkpatrick in the danger that she does. But without those two being brainless, the three of them could have been a solid block going forward. I mean, it would have been hard to overcome Todrick and Misha and their comp wins and manipulation over everybody else, even if they didn't successfully get to Carson and Cynthia. But we'll have that conversation another day, because for now we're going to send Shayna through to the next round. And that feels good after she did not win AFP. We can do at least that for all of us.
Yay, Shayna.
Let's pull the wheel back up and find out who's up next for the second matchup of the day.
Oh my god.
Mary, manifest someone, the season.
It's going to be early season's Big Brother.
Ooh.
That's what I want.
Let's see.
Maybe
it'll be 25 again. BB9. That's early seasons.
It
I
is.
mean, yeah,
That's
early. That's
all
early.
right.
9, Ryan.
What an interesting last name, Quicksal.
Yeah, it's like not quicksand, not quicksale.
Yeah, it's like you almost were quicksand, but not quite.
You almost were quicksand. Somebody remind me of the title of the episode.
All right, let me find his little blurb. All right, here we go. Ryan, his soulmate was Allison. Although Ryan had been dating fellow house guest Jen outside of the house, Ryan was spared from eviction during week 3 through a fake eviction where the soulmates were split up, resulting in his partner, Allison, being unanimously evicted in a 6-0 vote. Ryan only received 1 vote to win the game against Adam.
Let me refresh people who may not remember BB9 or Ryan or anything there. So one of the craziest things, so a lot of crazy things happen in BB9. Start there.
Yeah. Yes.
One of the craziest things happens in BB9. So Ryan shows up. It's this whole season of pairs. Ryan shows up in the house with his IRL girlfriend, Jen.
Is it him and his girlfriend hooking up in the bathroom? Like
they are the ones who, yes.
They can't keep their hands off one another. Like
confirmed coitus in the bathroom at some point.
Not confirmed. Confirmed coitus is crazy.
That's a Haley Strong original. And so they show up. They don't immediately tell everybody that they are dating IRL. Jen, his girlfriend, and they were not a couple in the house. They were paired with other people, which was interesting in itself. Jen is awful. Jen is probably one of the worst players on the bracket, and we'll get to her when she comes up. But she, at one point, I think it might have been while they were on the block against one another, because Jen and her partner Parker were up against Ryan and his partner.
I forgot about this for a
Ryan and his partner. Who the hell is Ryan's partner?
Allison.
Allison, yes, I forget because they split up, pre-jury. And one of them is going to be evicted, either Ryan or his girlfriend and their respective partners. Jen, in an attempt to save herself, I believe it's at that point, starts to tell people that Ryan is racist.
Yes. Just apropos of nothing, just decides to tell people this.
That this is IRL.
She's like, I love the dude. He's my boyfriend, but he is a bit of a racist.
And she openly just tells people that. It gets around the house. It gets back to Ryan. They obviously have a confrontation. He confronts her about it. That woman, when we get to that woman, and look, this guy's not that much better. What a story, Big Brother 9, Mary.
Big Brother 9, okay, this is going to sound odd, but I have like kind of fond memories of watching Big Brother 9. Now, remember, I watched seasons 2 through like 11 of Big Brother within a few months, within like 5 months. And so it was kind of a blur, but I remember when I got to Big Brother 9, I'm like, everyone sucks. Everyone is horrible on this season. It feels so different than every other season of Big Brother, especially up to that point. But therefore it just like really stands out in my mind as being different. Yeah, Ryan, no, I don't know, we mentioned he does well. Like, he is the runner-up. He plays the game pretty well. And it really, like, he gets past the whole first week situation with his girlfriend and stuff. And honestly, probably his game improves a lot once Jen leaves the game. So that helps. But yeah, I'm trying to remember. I believe he was pretty closely allied to Adam.
The group that ends up forming, it's so the house splits into two sides once jury starts, mostly. And by the way, before I get too far away from Mary, I'm with you that BB9 is certainly a standout, and not always in a negative way when you're watching it from a television perspective. It, like, to me, I've always kind of referred to it as like the MTV version of Big Brother that somehow just got dropped in on CBS in the wintertime.
That's a really great comparison.
It's giving like the real world in a Big Brother house. So this guy,
and don't get me wrong, like, everybody on that season are pretty horrible. They're all pretty bad.
Yes. Ryan ends up working with, like you said, Mary, Adam, the winner of the season, as well as Sheila, Adam's partner. Mm-hmm. They're working with Maddie and Natalie, who were not a showmance, even though Natalie was desperate for them to be. And Ryan is somebody who had pretty good relationships with the other side of James and Chelsea and Joshua, and Sharon was on that side as well. Like, he was doing a good job at like reaching across the aisle and maintaining relationships there. But one thing he also could never do was get the stink off of him from Jen. People were upset about everything that she did in that game. And especially feeling like the two of them had an unfair advantage coming into the game because they knew each other from outside of the game. And like early on, I feel like that they were both looked down upon for that. And especially when you get to the end of the game, like, this guy who you might think had formed better social bonds than Adam did, you see, especially once people get to putting their votes in the key box, that is not the case. People did not like Ryan. They did not like associating him with Jen, of course, because they still were a couple. Did not like the couple, did not like him, did not like the idea that he still may have been racist, obviously. Why would anyone like that? Even though the jury was all questionable people anyway. Not all. I don't know. Amon, jump in.
I mean, Ryan, he's like, I feel like he had a decent beginning in the game. And, a lot of that has to do with what you were just talking about, and having someone that you can absolutely trust in the house. When that all goes to shit, yes, he's able to have sort of like this, he's able to win a bunch of competitions to keep himself safe, but it's what he does with those HOHs and with those vetoes that sets himself up to lose in the end to Adam. So I just feel like there's a lot of just like questionable decisions, and most of the people that he was working with in the end of the game wanted him gone first. So like I feel like he was completely just like duped by a lot of people, specifically Adam and Sheila. And it just I don't think that the chops were there. I think that he had decent relationships for the most part, but I think that, you know, his appearance kind of preceded him, which isn't necessarily his fault, but you know, everybody wanted you out, bruh. And the fact that you got to the end to facilitate somebody else's win isn't really that striking of a game. It's just that just means you're a comp beast that's able to be weaponized.
And I'm not sure. Big Brother 9 is so weird because if you took like any one of those people and put them in a different season, and actually, the more I think about it, there's a lot of ways in which the people in that season and some of the things that happen are similar to Big Brother 15 and are similar to Big Brother 21. It just in the fact that you have like kind of a lot of people in the cast who come across very unlikable, and some of it is like, is it because is it like groupthink? Is it everything that goes together? You know, Big Brother 19 also, or is it like if you took someone out, if you took Ryan out of that season, put him in a different one, would he have been able to have better social relationships? Kind of unclear.
And it sounds like he might have fit into 15.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Come on down to Club Racist. Come on.
Oh, man. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think he performed well in the season he was in, but like Aman saying, not necessarily due to a whole lot of his own like ability,
and
more
more
just that he was
for like
right.
conference either. Like, you know, think about who he's competing against.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of an example of you take a kind of strong guy and plop him down into any season. He doesn't even, and put him in a dominant alliance. And yeah, they probably could go pretty far.
Yeah. I have in my notes that people were upset with him on the jury because he had told some unnecessary lies along the way, some unnecessary promises to people that, again, when he was reaching across the aisle and trying to befriend all these people, that maybe he was making it seem like he was more with them than he actually was. And so as they all go out the door, and these are extremely volatile people that are going out the door there, very emotional people, and, you know, just people that didn't take very kindly to the fact that they were evicted, and then Ryan, who again was perceived to be their friend, was still in there and working with the people that were actively opposing him. I don't know this for sure. I would love to hear from people in the comments if people do remember or know this from real time, if Ryan would have beat Sheila. Sheila ends up, I think it's Adam that wins the final 3 HOH, cuts I'm sorry, Ryan wins the final 3 HOH, cuts Sheila, and goes to the final 2 with Adam. But I wonder if he made the reverse decision. I almost feel like he would have lost to Sheila too, which is
lost. Yeah.
I think it might have been closer
insane.
than 6-1, but I still think he would have lost.
I mean, up against Adam, I remember being alarmed because he didn't even get Maddie's vote, and like him and Maddie were like tight within the confines of the game while Maddie was still in the game. So I guess, I don't know, the anti-Ryan sentiment was strong. Let's find Ryan an opponent.
And Adam wins and goes on to create a drug ring. Yeah.
Which, you know what? Actually, Maddie voting Adam makes sense. Okay. I think they might have gotten involved in similar post-game antics. Let's find Ryan an opponent. Shall we?
We shall.
Mary manifested an early season, and
I say BB can. I'm manifesting BB can.
We're in a drought. We're in a Canada drought.
We are.
It's gonna be. Oh,
what a hard matchup. I don't know who's gonna do better.
I think my heart skipped a beat for a second because I've been waiting for big names to come up, and
I feel bad. You know, I do feel bad. Like the thing about the big names coming up, for those of you just listening to the audio version, Derrick Levasseur.
Derrick Levasseur.
The thing I feel bad about is that we really don't even need to talk about this. Derrick wins, but the thing I don't feel bad about is like, but Derrick's gonna move on. Wouldn't it have been worse if in the first round Derrick goes up against another really big name and then doesn't even get to move on or something, or it's like tight? That would be
It would have
rough.
been tough. I mean, look, we do have some, backup plans in place where people can get voted back in, but you don't want to rely on that. Do we do a diary room history here and place the vote before we talk about him?
I
No, I feel like
mean,
Jeff Probst. I'm trying to make moments happen.
I'm voting Derrick through.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
All right.
voting Derrick. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry.
why?
I'm-
We'll
and
talk about
here's the thing,
why
I'm
Derrick is
not
going
even the
through.
biggest Derrick fan, but like, come on. We
Mary,
just have to
honestly,
stretch to make Ryan likable.
you manifested this before we even started
did,
by
I
saying you
did.
wanted a slam dunk matchup. So
I needed at least one.
you pulled one of the people that are in conversation for the greatest of all time. Derrick
Yeah.
Levasseur is up here. And it's funny because again, with some of these big names, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it when there's tougher matchups on the board. We'll talk through the
There will
deep
be time for a
details
debate at some point.
of their game. But Mary, I guess for you, we don't know that that'll be on the next episode you come on. So this is your time to talk about Derrick.
So, when you
Do we
think
not
about
need to read the blurb?
Oh yeah, sorry, go for it.
I mean, no,
If you want.
I don't think that we need to, but like, well, I'll do it. Just
Read it just in case
posterity.
someone hasn't watched 16.
Yeah, and just in case someone sends this to Derrick and they're like, "You didn't."
Someone
even
could
read
be
my
like
shit."
me, except 16 is the one season they haven't seen.
There
You
we
never
go.
know.
All right, Derrick. He was a part of this is actually kind of short, surprisingly. He was a part of the Detonators, Team America, a Final Two alliance with Cody named the Hitman, and a backup Final Two deal with Victoria. He was formerly a member of the Bomb Squad, Los Tres Amigos, and The Rationale. Derrick made it all the way to the end without ever being nominated, although he was nominated by default when he failed to win the final HOH and won by a vote of 7-2, making him the first winner in BBUS history to accomplish this feat.
All right, back to you, Mary.
Yeah. So, I mean, Derrick is generally speaking mentioned on the Big Brother Hall of Fame in terms of just like pure dominant gameplay, I'll say. There's a debate when it comes to, which players actually potentially have more skill. That really comes down to what season they're on, et cetera. But I mean, Derrick did not have a whole lot of struggles throughout his game at all. He was very lucky that he had Cody as his ally, who chose not to cut him at the end inexplicably, but that be the case sometimes. Which, you know what, I'll say for Cody's, I understand that when you're in the house with someone for so long that your judgment can be clouded. And sometimes you take your eye off the ball and you start thinking a little bit too much about who might be your best friend and not wanting to hurt them and other nonsense like that. It's game. Come on, people. Derrick crushed. Did pretty well. I had forgotten actually that he had 4 HOHs. Although
that probably counts the ones that were dethroned. If
I
was
was gonna say, does that count Battle of the
the
Block? It might. Or not. Yeah, Battle of the Block. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Do some
he
number
was
checking on that.
dethroned once, it looks like.
Okay.
Of those times. So still quite a lot of wins. No veto wins, but I'm trying to remember, that might have been, was he throwing vetoes because he didn't want to show his cards as much? I feel like that would have also been a very Derrick move.
Yeah. Where do you know off the top of your head what your order is and where you place Derrick within that top tier? Like if you were to give your answer today of the best of all time, I don't think I want you to give your answer just yet. Well, actually, you can do whatever you want. But Mary, do you know where Derrick fits into that conversation?
The problem is, like for me, I don't think about that a lot. Like when I think of like who are my favorite Big Brother players, like Derrick's not in the top 50 of my favorite Big Brother players. I'll just say, which is like not. I mean, and I nothing against Derrick. It's just I don't find him or Big Brother 16 to be a particularly enjoyable season to watch, and so that's kind of where I go down. But I'll say if I had to rank like the best at the game, he's probably hovering in that like 5-ish spot for me, like up there, top 5, top 5.
His performance on BB22 was out of this world.
It really was. It really was.
Oh God.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, again, and no shade. I know there's a lot of Derrick fans out there. I think so much of it just depends on like what you like about a season. Here's what I will say. Derrick is very similar to the winning game of Boston Rob's winning season in Big Brother in Survivor 22, Redemption
Yes.
Island. And so, and I love that. I think the difference for me is that I prefer the personality that Boston Rob brings, whereas Derrick is just so kind of even keel the whole time, which nothing wrong about that. I just don't find that particularly entertaining. But I'll admit, very similar gameplay.
Yeah. Aman, again, we're going to have this conversation in more detail, but for now, just to whet people's appetite on Derrick, what do you have for Derrick here?
Look, I will continuously say, I know that this is like, this has always been a debate about Derrick's game, whether or not he was this mastermind or whether or not he played up against a cast that was, sort of dumb. I think the answer is somewhere in the middle. I really do. And I'll go to my grave saying that. A lot of people will have a rebuttal and say, no, it's just because Derrick made it look very easy. I'm not saying that Derrick is not skilled. I'm not saying that that his profession did not help him out in any way. And I would never say that Derrick is a bad Big Brother player. He is one of the best. But I think that when you're thinking about all the personalities that were involved in that season, a lot of socially intelligent and emotionally intelligent people could have done well in BB16 because there were a lot of emotionally immature people in that house as well. So it's just, I think Derrick is gifted at the game, but I think there's also a reason as to why he won't return, because he knows he will get his ass cooked.
Well. In real time, a couple of weeks away from the Traitors, season 3 airing on our television. So we are not getting the Derrick return to Big Brother again, unless you count BB22 behind the scenes. But we are getting Derrick back on a reality competition in some form. And I think that's going to tell us a lot. They're very different games. We know this. I know this, blah, blah, blah. Dan, very different on the Traitors than he did on Big Brother, but still, like, to see people flex their chops, and again to see Derrick do it after all these years when he has not returned to Big Brother, I'm dying to find out what happens next.
And the one other thing I'll say to Amon's point is, like, when you look at some of the other all-time great Big Brother players, when you think about people like Will, when you think about people like Dan, who we have seen play twice and have done very well the second time as well, I think the main thing that's different about them and Derrick is that I think the way that Derrick won can only be played once. And unless you put Derrick in the BB19 Paul spot, where I think Derrick could dominate again in the same fashion, or at least do very well. I think if you put Derrick in an all returning season or even a partially returning season, I think unless it's all his friends, unless it's Cody and other friends, I think it's unlikely that people let him do the same thing. Just based on the nature of how he plays.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say that I think the best part about Derrick's game is like towards the end, because I think one of the only other people in that house that possibly could have bested him is probably either Beast Mode Cowboy or Frankie, most likely Frankie. And, that whole rerun week really screwed up Frankie's game. I think that could have shown us a lot more interesting of an end game if Frankie had not had that disadvantage. So I do think that he situated himself very well, and he created like this cult-like following within the house. Like everything had to go the way that he planned it out, like similar to what you were talking about with Boston Rob. Like everything had to follow the script, and he did a good job of keeping that like grip towards the end. So I will never say that he is a bad Big Brother player nor a bad Big Brother winner. He's definitely top tier, but I guess I'm just saying I'm not as enamored as most people seem to be.
Well, that'll be very interesting when we get to the next time Derrick comes up and the future rounds where Derrick comes up. I wonder if, because again, I've said before, I think I want to at some point hear from people who will be able to make the case, like the full case for their person that they think may be the GOAT. And I'm sure someone's out there that Derrick is their GOAT, number one on their board for them. And I want to hear from them, to make the full case. And I don't like necessarily need that to understand why Derrick is so good. We watch watched 16. We watched him have control over these people who, I don't remember if I was able, I don't think I got this out. I was thinking while Amon was talking, the 16 cast may be filled with some people that are in that category you were describing, but like, look, they're not one of the most highly returny casts out there for no reason. Nicole, Cody, and some, Frankie, like characters like Caleb's and even like pre-jurors like an Amber. I mean, people that haven't returned or along the way, Zach's and Brittany's, like people that maybe aren't like the strongest minded players, but like still we're not the weakest cast I think that we have ever seen. I don't think it's certainly not like a 19 that you could probably put much more in that category. So I think, the credit that Derrick gets is, in my opinion, very justified. Unfortunately.
I don't know. I mean, not to like debate this forever, but I just feel like the reason why we see a lot of repeat with BB16 is because BB16 is the rebrand of Big Brother, of modern Big Brother. I think that's the reason, not necessarily because any of them are Titan players. I think it's just CBS was determined to draw as much attention away from the prior season. And that is why we have seen so many of them come back, because that is their baby season, not because any of them are good. So
I think I disagree. I mean, I understand the sentiment of, covering up what came before it, but I do think it's, a blockbuster cast that they've, whether it's because they've turned them into a blockbuster cast or it just happened naturally. I don't know. I think I lean towards they recognize they had a lot of good people. And like, honestly, yeah, that could happen with a lot of different seasons that it just hasn't happened for. That you can point to, like they could have brought other players back more times and somebody else could have been a Nicole Franzel, maybe not as far as being as successful as Nicole, but just come back as many times as Nicole. I don't know. Conversation for another day. Derrick has already gone through.
In the comments, guys.
Derrick has already gone through. We made that clear. So Derrick advancing over BB9's Ryan. Sorry to anybody who is looking for more old school players to go through. Mary, we didn't clarify that.
No, I didn't. I just wanted to talk about one.
Yeah. Let's get into the first player here of our final matchup. Still in the Canada drought.
BB can. Let the snow fall. Let the north return.
Up next on the wheel is going to be
Nope.
Jessica Graf.
Oh, good, for my first season of Big Brother.
Wheel is not racist.
Whoa.
Ethnocentrist, I guess. No Canadians allowed.
No.
Well,
all right.
Okay. Continue. Blurb about Jessica.
All right, Jessica. Jessica was known for her showmance with Cody, both being targets, and her rivalry with Josh. As she rose to power, she fell just as quickly, with Cody attempting to backdoor Paul and then Christmas, which turned the entire house against them. When Cody was backdoored, Jessica was left alone. America tempted her with the halting hex, and she managed to survive eviction. When Cody returned, Jessica became HOH, but her reign was botched by Paul and Alex, with her pawn Ramses being evicted over Josh. After being blindsided, she revealed that she had the third temptation. This left her and Cody nominated. She used her halting hex in week 5, making Paul's HOH a waste. The week after, Jessica was stuck as a third nominee. She was evicted in a 7-1-0 vote.
So where do we start with the justice for Ramses or the next coming of Janelle Pierzina, as many were calling? Mary, this was your first season.
Yeah. Because I wasn't tapped into like the online stuff at this point, I remember vaguely hearing that like a lot of people had really high hopes for Jessica, and I was like, what? Why? But also because I did zero. I mean, Big Brother is wild because in almost no other season would Jessica have been like an underdog, right? Big Brother 19, such a weird time. I think that she was perfectly serviceable as a Big Brother player for a bit of it. Doesn't last very long. I actually thought she lasted longer than she did. 12th place. Wow. Yeah, I would have bet money that she was like at least
Yeah, she's
10.
the final one to go out before the jury started, which
Yeah.
CBS was pissed about.
Yeah.
Not only was this like, one of in their minds or in the fandom, we saw who won AFP, a rising star at the time. But the fact that they had the showmance that was like filling fans' hearts, get separated. It was tough for production there, but she made a lot of noise, and honestly, I feel like I have more to say about her off the show in not a good way than I do on the show, because when it was on the show, it was just bad. It was her and Cody versus the world. It was her versus Josh, and it was her using her power to evict Ramses. We know the story if you were there. It's just the wildest story. But yeah, no, when she got home and she had a lot of fan support, and I mean, the reason Cody wins AFP does not have to do with Jessica, really pushing people, saying, don't vote for me. I know you all really enjoyed both of us. Vote for Cody. He's still there. Give him the win, blah, blah, blah. And they did. And look where we are now, everybody. Look, are we all happy?
I am sure some people out there are. I think that not exactly the same as Shayna, but like in some ways, yeah, she made a big fumble with her power. And Ramsey's going home, or not really with her power, but with her HOH. And yeah, that was a problem that season. I mean, the key is, it just has to be said over and over, but like, if you are on the outs of the big alliance and the people running the game, you have to take direct hits at them. You can't take side hits. You can't hope that they're not going to take out literally anyone that you put up against them. You can't put pawns on. You just have to put 2 of them up, and that's it. I think a couple days ago, I was actually watching all of the YouTube video that is just all of the Big Brother 19 jury segments, which is a wild thing to watch. It's so funny. And not that she was on that, but that it just reminded me of Big Brother 19. I was going back for some nostalgia. I'm curious to
all
see
of her
who
allies ended up there, not just Cody, but any semblance of people that she could have worked with. Mark and Elena. Was Matt and Raven somewhat associated with that group for a little bit?
Very early on, but they quickly became Paul minions as well.
So, anybody that, again, she could have had something with, did end up on the jury, and her and Ramsey is right out the door in the pre-jury, thanks to her.
Here's what I will say about her as well, though, is like, if you take out and you try to, if you were someone like me who did not watch live feeds at the time, did not listen to live feed updates, only watched the show, you do go through the show feeling very bad for Jessica and somewhat Cody, in terms of the way that, like, particularly Josh, but the other Paul minions were treating them. It was my first experience with Big Brother, and I was like, wow, people are just mean. Like, people are, and it's not to say that they weren't as well, but I'm just saying, just from a purely show watcher, I understand why the audience loved them once, like, as underdogs, because they were just, it was the classic, let's make the people on the bottom villains.
Yeah, and sometimes they know what they're doing when it comes to picking out the people to do that too. Aman, what do you got?
I mean, I feel like Jess, like, everybody loved Jess because of the fact that, like, she was the main, voice of dissent against Paul, and everybody wanted Paul out of there. We all wanted Paul's head, right? And so anybody that was going to give that to us was going to have their support, have our support thrown to them. But like with what Mary said earlier, it's like, you had HOH and you won the veto that week and you fucked it up. Like, so it's like, we can only, like, go so far. All you had to do was put up somebody else next to Josh. That's all you had to do. Put somebody else up. One of Paul's allies goes home. That weakens the game. And she didn't do it. And she was dangling the secret of her power over the house as if that was going to be enough to scare them. And all of them, essentially, Paul mainly, called her bluff, saying, like, okay, like, well, do something about it then. Like, if you have this power, then use it. And so, she gets nominated the next week, and they're like, he's like, you don't know what you did, Paul. You don't know what you did. You don't know what you did. And it's like, Okay, and that still ended up in Cody going. So like, what are you doing? Like, I just, and then Cody coming back, was like a moment of intrigue, but I feel like without Cody, she probably could have done a little bit better because, people liked her when she wasn't with him. He was enemy numero uno half the time. So with her, just her alone, there could have been like a BB13, Rachel type of like arc for her. But, she was back up under him and he was enemy numero uno again. And then she was collateral damage. It felt like she was only willing to pivot when Cody wasn't there. And then when Cody came back, it was just more of the same. So I think that she definitely has chops. I remember being so impressed with the way that she chose to, and I think this is how she won that power. I forget the competition was when they took all the lights down. It was like they turned the Big Brother house into like a horror house. And I forget exactly what she did, but I remember being very impressed with the tactic that she chose to go with, because it was a timed competition, but she chose to like time herself out and then ended up actually being an advantage. So she has a mind for the game and she has a strategic mind, but I just think that she was up against a mountain and she wasn't able to pivot enough. So yeah.
Well, as she is somebody who appears on many of the lists of worst HOH reigns in Big Brother history, pulling her opponent here, I think, is going to make this a very interesting matchup, as aren't they all? Let's find out who Jessica Graf is going up against here. Last chance. Come on through, Canada. Let's see. There we go.
Hey! But not him.
Who would have thought? Both Kyle Moores up and out of here in no time. Wow. Okay, Kyle Moore, BB Can 9 version.
version.
The OG Kyle Moore, the one who we thought was the second Kyle Moore, but was actually the first Kyle Moore.
And the one that talked a lot of trash in the next Kyle Moore, but like, I'm the original. It's like, okay, honey, calm down.
Yeah.
Kyle formed bonds early with Rohan, Austin, and Brayden. In week 3, he and Rohan got in an argument with Kiefer and LaToya after confronting him about spreading a lie that the duo were targeting all the girls in the house. Kiefer won the following HOH, targeting Kyle. After Rohan won the POV, Kyle was left on the block next to Austin and was evicted in a 7-1 vote, only receiving Rohan's vote.
Wait, so was this before or after Austin? Did you just cover that? Did Austin go before or after him?
Austin went after him.
After, and she didn't vote for him?
I guess not.
They were the showmans, weren't they? Or like not a
it was like a budding romance. It wasn't like a full blown like I love you.
I'll say I have not gotten to BB Can 9 in my rewatch as I've been trying to go back through some seasons. So details on this man's game I don't have for you at the moment. Mary, do you have any stronger memories of Kyle Moore? Are you scrambling to
not the more memorable of the Kyle Moores.
Not the more memorable. Look what you did.
Not the most memorable. Kyle, yeah, like I'm desperately trying to remember anything interesting about Kyle Moore.
ChatGPT, what did Kyle Moore do?
Yeah, what did Kyle Moore do in Big Brother? He didn't do a lot. This is the problem with this matchup. It's like he's less memorable to me than Jessica, but like Jessica made such mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, he's the only male house guest not to be evicted unanimously, but almost. I mean, 7-1. Okay, great. Like,
wait, he's the only house guest to not be evicted unanimously.
A male house guest, apparently.
Oh, like on the season?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, like
which is actually kind of a wild stat, if true.
If true, I mean, I'm looking at it now. Josh, yeah. Rohan, yeah. Jets, yeah. Okay, they know what they're talking about. Okay, well, that's unfortunate for Kyle, but I would say this matchup might be fortunate for Kyle. We'll see where that lands. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot on Kyle. Again, Austin's already come up and she's already out, so like we could send him packing with Austin and they could go not showmance it up in the evicted house guests of the diary room party that I'm sure happens. I don't know, Aman, you remember anything more specifically about what Kyle had going on?
I mean, I think that he was just kind of like no match for LaToya. specifically. I think that Latoya was doing her best, sort of having a stranglehold on the progression of events. I mean, she was kind of fighting for her life against Julie Vu right from the jump, and did not want to find herself in that position. So I think that targeting anybody that was not in the were they the Sunsetters, right? Sunsetters, yeah.
Yes.
Anybody that was not in that alliance were, they had to go. And Rohan and Kyle they hung out so much with each other. They were both like pretty athletic guys, so they sort of like painted the target on their backs. And didn't really do much to integrate themselves into any of the power structures. They kind of just hung out with one another. So yeah, I mean, there really isn't much to say about Kyle's game more than just like,
what do we have?
He was on the block with Austin. That's why Austin didn't vote to keep him.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
That makes sense.
People screaming at us through the comments or through the.
I literally read that too, and I didn't register.
Yeah, I forgot it after you read it.
Yeah. We know what we're talking about, I promise. Okay, well, that makes more sense. Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's kind of coming back to me that, the group that had been forming or the people that had been more closely working together, I think he was just outside of it. So he just comes up, I think, in this, this is the time of the game where those people get cut of like, we're getting into the jury phase. We don't have anything to do with this guy at this point. He's on the block. He's got to go. And Austin, if he's up against Austin, I understand why he went, because Austin had Brayden, and for a moment in time, they were kind of okay with Victoria, who is still in the game at this point. And then, Kyle's just not really in good with anybody. But all that said, and I'll move this along because Mary does have a heart out today with us. I'll cast the first vote for Kyle to go through over Jessica Graf. Let's send both Kyle Moores through to the next round. Mary, the other Kyle Moore is already through. As crazy as that sounds, I'm happy to send both of them through, and maybe we can get the Kyle Moore versus Kyle Moore matchup in the next round, unless you guys both think Jessica Graf is a better player. Mary, I'll turn to you.
I'm trying to decide. It's really difficult with like what we know of the people outside of the game. Trying not to help that color this.
I might pause you here because Aman had a reaction that makes me think he's voting for Jessica. Am I right about that?
I am voting for Jessica. I think
not the tiebreaker.
I'm voting for Jessica because we got to see, I think that she understands the game a lot more than Kyle Moore did. And we got to see her with Cody. We got to see her social game sort of like increase a little bit without Cody, and then it kind of got pulled back down again once Cody returned. But I think that she was always like a good advocate for herself. I don't think that she was afraid of anybody in that house, and that is something that like I value in any player, anyone that is willing to like anybody that wants to smoke and is not afraid of the smoke. I will take it. She argued with everybody in that house. She got into it with Paul. She got into it with Josh. She got into it with Raven. Like, she didn't care. And they were the ones that looked crazy because y'all were the ones, and she told y'all time and time again, this is what is going on. Now, did she fuck up her HOH? Yes, she did. She did. But do I think that she still does better in most seasons without a Paul, better than a Kyle Moore? For sure. Yes.
Mary.
I'm asking ChatGPT.
No.
I'm curious to see what it says. I have an answer in my mind, but I'm curious to see.
And look, I get where you're coming from, Aman. I really do. But just like I can't convince myself.
What does Kyle Moore have to show for his game?
More than
you couldn't even think about anything. You couldn't even remember the game because there really wasn't much of one.
Right, and I'll take a non-memorable game over actively bad.
I don't know if I don't have time to read through the entire essay that it wrote up for me. It does say that Jessica finished 7th, which is just incorrect. So I should probably just ignore all of this.
Yeah. You're the guest, not ChatGPT. We want your vote.
And then Kyle supposedly finished in 5th. Maybe they mean 5th out and 7th out. I don't know. Anyway, here's what I'll say. I'm trying to think of potential and play like general, take the gameplay. how would Kyle do, how would Jessica do another time around. I think more often than not, Kyle's kind of a nothing burger, and I could see Jessica come back and either crash and burn or do well. So I think there's more variance to Jessica's game, and I think Kyle's kind of a member of an alliance most of the time around. I think what's hurting Kyle for me is the fact that he was relatively unobjectionable and still didn't do very well. Whereas Jessica made mistakes and did about the same. So I don't know if that helps.
I get the thought process of Jessica having potential. Everybody thought going into the season that she would. People had her ranked at the top spots, thinking that she was going to be this legend of the game. It's just, again, when she flexes her strategic muscles, her comp wins, and uses the abilities that she has, it doesn't go well.
My instinct was, in honor of the first season I watched, to give it to Jessica for Big Brother 19.
Is that what you're going to go with? Or
I think that's what I'm gonna go with.
Okay. I honestly, I know a lot of people have very good reasons, including
why was this the toughest matchup for me?
No, but I think a lot of people obviously will do not like Jessica or Cody. But I feel like it's not going to be as big of a reaction of people saying that this is the wrong decision. I think. I don't know. Hard to gauge. We'll see. Okay. So Jessica's going to go through on a 2-1 vote here. If that's where we're all confident in our votes.
Yes.
I like the look on Amon's face when he's like, what is the reaction going to be? Mary, do you want to run and you want to give plugs and run, or
I'll just say thanks for having me on, you two. This was very fun. Sorry, I do have to dip kind of early, but had a great time. Can't wait for the future round matchups, and I'll continue listening because this is a wonderful podcast. Everyone should listen to it. It's very fun, and what you had mentioned a few weeks ago, I can just see the potential for this format in all sorts of other things. Do Survivor, do the challenge, do everything. It's great. And other than that, plugs. I feel like I don't have much going on right now, but
you're on Blue Sky now.
I am on Blue Sky, so feel free to follow me at frailmary. whatever it is on Blue Sky.
and go back in time. And what was it? The BB4 blockumentary you and Taryn did, or 5?
We did 4. We got halfway through recording 5 and never released it, so I'm not really sure what happened there.
Well,
that was during the pandemic times, so
the BB4 blockumentary is out there.
Feel free to go back and listen to that. If you're ever doing a rewatch of BB20, then you can check out Early Days Mary podcast.
Yes. Well, thank you, Mary, for joining us. Much appreciated. But now we're back on. What do you want me to edit in?
I was gonna say you should get the little clip of Cody and BB22 be like, "Where'd they go?" in response to Mary disappearing.
Oh, yeah. All right, Mary had a run. So let's close things out here. Just in review of what we accomplished today, our first matchup of the day. And again, we did accomplish pulling Canada back into the bracket. So there's that. First matchup of the day, Celebrity Big Brother 3 contestant and robbed AFP, non-AFP, unfortunately. Shanna Moakler advances to the next round, while Red from Big Brother 25 has been evicted. We advanced. We got one of the contenders, generally speaking, for the GOAT. Derrick Levasseur, Big Brother 16 winner, advances to the next round in a very shocking decision. As Big Brother 9 runner-up, Ryan Quickfall, not Quicksand, is evicted. And we just ended the evening here with Kyle Moore from Big Brother Canada 9 being evicted before I could even rewatch and remember a damn thing about him. And Jessica Graf, Big Brother 19. Who would have expected to see Jessica Graf go through to the next round? But she did. She did indeed.
I mean, I'm kind of shocked that you're so down on her. I feel like she's, I feel like her game was, there was some shit to it, but it wasn't horrible. It's BB19 after all. You got to grade that shit on a curve, in my view.
You feeling okay over there?
Look, I gotta be me, okay, and that's just how I feel about it.
I'll let everybody
checking for Kyle Moore. Ain't nobody checking for Kyle Moore. I said it. Tag him.
behind the
him.
scenes,
I want this
Amon's area has been undergoing some construction. That's why the power was out yesterday.
as a
I'm
gas
wondering if
leak.
like some gas leak is going on in there. I don't know. You never know.
Over Kyle Moore. That's the hill we're gonna die on.
Well,
Kyle
it's
Moore.
not over Kyle Moore. It's
Come
over
on.
Jessica. Look, we've been waiting for Canada to show up, and you were like, "Get back out of here."
I mean, I said not him as soon as his name popped up.
Well, look, of all of the 12 names that we listed at the beginning of the podcast, all of the recently eliminated losers, Red, Ryan, and Kyle Moore now join that list. So again, if you want to be involved in all the action that we have going on over on Patreon, patreon.com/the diary room, one of those recently eliminated players will get voted back in straight to round 2. And if you sign up for the cast a vote tier, you could cast a vote. Nobody again came up this episode that has had a vote cast for them, but you can cast a vote for somebody and be the 4th vote on the call. And if there is a tie, when that vote gets cast, if it's a 2-2 tie, the vote goes to your vote. So pretty powerful stuff. And sometimes that might be needed because Amon might try to throw Jessica Graf into round 3 at some point. So we'll see.
I just might.
You just might. I think that's it for now. You were saying you missed Drag Race, but again, it's coming up soon. So not tomorrow, but probably early January. You should be back with that.
Yeah, it'll definitely be early January. There's already spoilers out there for All Stars 10, which is crazy. But yeah,
well, that's like the crazy season. They invited like 1,000 queens back in a weird format. So that's.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't hear anything about the format, but I've just been hearing rumors about all the queens that are going to be allegedly back. One of them who was just on All Stars 9.
Yes.
But yeah, so that will be back in your feeds and in your ears for the Drag Race fans out there within the next couple of months, probably like Matt said, after the holidays and everything. So I'm really excited about that. You can follow me everywhere. Adam on Adwin. You can follow me on Twitch. I'll be twitching these days again. So check me out there.
There we go. I'm over on Blue Sky at mattligori.bsky.social. I'm on, I don't know if you mentioned Blue Sky, adamonadwin.bsky.social. Of course, we're still on Twitter hanging out in some small capacity if you're still only over there, but come to Blue Sky. We're having fun. And we're on Blue Sky at thediaryroom.bsky.social. Check me out on the Free Agents podcast with Brian Scally as we are finishing up this season of the Challenge 40, waiting for the next season, All Stars 5 coming around the corner. Have some traders coverage coming up soon, featuring, again, one of the players that we pulled today, Derrick Levasseur on the Traders cast. We will be covering it every step of the way, as well as concluding House of Villains over there. So that is that. I think that's it for now. So thank you guys, as always, for the continued support. Because we record these ahead of time, we don't know when the recording will happen that we actually do hit 2,000 subscribers. But as of this recording, we are getting pretty close. So hopefully that has come up soon. Amon, I think, said something about eating chapstick because he's a glutton for chapstick punishment. So I don't know. I'm not gonna.
I forget what date I said it had to be by, though.
I mean, I'm not letting you do it on my watch, so you can take that.
I think they may have missed the deadline because I feel like it was sometime in November, and unless we get it within the next 4 days,
there we go. Well, that either way, thank you all for the support, either just checking us out here or if you're with us over on Patreon. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, please, here on YouTube and on your podcast feeds, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those good places. Download all the podcasts there too. Just give us the downloads, rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Anything you can do to support us. We really appreciate it because it's a lot of fun to do this podcast, and all that stuff helps in a very big way. So I think that's it, unless you have anything else. Otherwise, get us out of here.
Our thanks to Mary once again for joining us, and a happy pre-Thanksgiving to everyone, although this will be out well after Thanksgiving.
Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving.
Hope you all had a wonderful dinner a couple weeks ago. Until next time, guys, please go to the diary room.